I used to get a real sense of wonder from video games. That feeling of not knowing what's out there and craving to find out. But over the years, that feeling faded without me even really noticing. Until I played Elden Ring, a game that surprised me in ways I didn't even think a video game still could. Even from the beginning of the game, I knew that I was experiencing something different. I was already excited and extremely impressed with my first few steps into the lands between. I was exploring Limgrave. I had a good sense of the size of my map, and I was having fun. I was already wondering about the distant landmarks or whatever else I could see. But for the most part, it was the same way that I might wonder about something while exploring in any other game. So after playing for a while longer, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of what to expect. I mean, I had played almost every Souls game that came before this one after all. So while I still wondered, I didn't yet understand the extent to which this game would invoke that sensation. But it wasn't very long before I stumbled across something that left such a lasting impression on me that, well, I'm now making this video all these years later. A standout moment in particular that many of you may already be familiar with. The first moment that kindled the flames of wonder in me and cemented the fact that I was in the middle of experiencing something truly remarkable. And it's just an elevator ride. The Siofra Riverwell. I had discovered that there was an entire underworld within the lands between. All of a sudden, the map doubled in size. My expectations had been shattered. I didn't even know what to expect anymore. What had started as a casual stroll through a forest ended up becoming what felt like the discovery of a lifetime. I had spotted a small, very unsuspecting stone structure out in the middle of the forest that anyone could have easily passed by or just not found at all. A structure that ended up being an entry point that descended into a whole other world, rife with its own regions, bosses, loot, and so on. It was magical, in what felt like the purest sense of the word. I remember discussing the game with friends at the time who were also in the middle of their first playthroughs, and learning that some of them hadn't made this discovery yet. In fact, they were having completely different experiences, which just made my fascination with it all that much stronger. And after that, I started to view the whole world differently. I now felt like I had to explore every nook and cranny lest I miss something incredible. It made my curiosity run rampant, because I now know Elden Ring will hide way more than just an item or an ambush around the corner. It will hide entire zones of content. Before, I was interested in knowing what that distant landmark might be, or what could be waiting for me inside this cave. But now, I need to know. What is that structure over there? What is inside this cave? Exploring this world began to become almost an obsession. I started to truly wonder at everything. Now it seemed like the possibilities were endless as I started to chart my way through the unknown. And wow, am I glad I started approaching the world in this way, because I would have missed out on so much if I hadn't been scrutinizing everything as I went. I mean, what are the chances that this random well here will lead to a huge subterranean zone to explore? No, pretty high apparently. But as I continued my journey through the lands between, I encountered so many more discoveries like these that just kept amplifying my newfound sense of wonder. Now that I knew Elden Ring could hide entire worlds from me, certain moments began spiking that sense like no other. And these moments I consider to be some of the best Elden Ring has to offer. They take the form of vistas. To me, some of the game's best moments lie in the unexpected views you might encounter that unveil the next zone before you. Like when I first opened the door letting me out into Limgrave and started geeking about what's in store for me. Or the time when I saw the entirety of Liurnia of the Lakes and was just stunned by the beauty of it all. Or when I first walked into Lanedale and couldn't stop thinking about how easy it'll be for me to get so blissfully lost in this city. And there's so much more. When I think back on my fondest memories of this game, these are the images and thoughts that play in my head. These moments immediately instill a sense of awe. They're so effective because they dominate the screen in the best way possible. They seize your attention with gorgeous world art before then sparking a series of questions and emotions all at once. You're curious about the distant landmarks and what lies in store there. You fret over the types of enemies you'll run into. You fantasize about the items you might find that could completely change your character's build. You'll think about the challenge that lies in wait for you and what dungeons or things otherwise unknown might be tucked away somewhere in this landscape. My imagination starts to run wild. And all of this culminates into an overwhelming sense of wonder that demands I start exploring right now. And that feeling is compounded because everything I've experienced in the game so far has been nothing but quality. So the chance that I might discover something genuinely amazing is much higher. These kinds of moments just kept happening throughout my whole journey from beginning to end. And I started to realize that it had been far too long since a game had made me feel like this. Few games are able to leave me as awestruck when discovering new areas and realizing that the game just keeps going. Like, you never know if that small side path is going to lead to a completely new adventure. And I love that sensation. In fact, I don't think I had felt like this since my first time playing Skyrim back in 2011. So, why is that? I think I've played so many video games over the years that I had gotten used to the same formulas and patterns. Over time, I had built up a sort of understanding of what games are and how they operate and what I can expect out of them. It started to feel like most video games no longer surprised me anymore. I had gotten used to being set on railroad tracks to ensure that I see everything the game has to offer, which works for some games, but isn't great for the discovery aspect, since that kind of requires the possibility of missing something. It just kind of feels like too many games these days don't allow you to explore and discover things for yourself. I've been inundated with map markers, checklists, and all sorts of other kinds of artificial guidance. And as a result, I think the sense of wonder I used to get out of video games slowly started to fade away without me even really noticing. Until I started discovering experiences like Elden Ring, one of the few games that managed to break the mold and made me realize what I had been missing for so long. And that's the thrill of exploring the unknown. The pure joy of navigating through a game that subverts your expectations and keeps you guessing at what you could find next. I really missed those feelings, and that's part of why I think all of this matters so much. Because it helped bring back some of my passion for gaming. It was a bit of a reminder of why I fell in love with video games in the first place. But there's a little more to it than that. In my opinion, a true sense of wonder that makes you intensely curious is one of the best feelings a game can elicit out of someone. Thinking about it now, that's probably why I enjoyed The Outer Wilds so much. If you've played that game, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But both of these games have something in common that they do really well, and that's giving you a reason to be curious. That's ultimately how Elden Ring reignited my sense of wonder. It's really that simple. But it ended up doing more than that. After playing through the game and thinking about all of this, I've come to realize that the reasons that make Elden Ring such a curiosity to me are reasons that can be found in the real world too. I can approach the world around me in the same way that I approach the lands between. I can see an unfamiliar place and wonder what's there and explore it even, instead of just dismissing it. It sounds obvious, but that's a valuable perspective I might not have had unless a game like this brought it to my attention. You know, as a form of escapism, this game is just phenomenal. One of the best worlds I've ever had the pleasure of getting lost in. A world that truly made me curious again. And a world that reminded me to take that feeling with me when I leave. So, since we've established how curious I am now, I'd love to hear if you've had a similar experience with this game, or if there's another game that brought something back for you. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.